we're looking for long stories and descriptors and things like
Okay.
that. Okay.
Sounds good.
Cool. All right. Hey, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Well, thanks for having me.
Cool. Can we start with your nickname, if you had one, when you started hanging out at the island, working at the island?
My name's Cat Mims, and I always just went by Cat.
So when did you start working at the island?
It was probably the very, very beginning of 1980 or the end of 79. It was pretty much like right, a few weeks after Richard and them took over.
Which Richard?
Richard Tomkala.
Okay. Anyone else working with him?
I remember, Daniel Jerzyk and Nancy McGalliard and all those people were kind of, hanging out. Sometimes Butler a little bit.
Yeah. Butler Hancock?
Hancock, yeah.
Butler Hancock?
Right.
Tom Bunch, I think, is also in that time area
Right,
as well.
right, yeah. And it was just kind of, Richard, Tomkala, and Nancy, and Daniel and I shared a courtyard over off of Barkdale. So we were kind of all neighbors, and I knew what they were doing, and he knew that I knew how to tend bars, so he approached me one day and asked if I would like to help with this project, and I said, sure, it sounds great. So I just dove right in. I think I was probably 20, I guess, at the time, so.
And just one little more note about that fourplex. I think that's where Richard Tomkala began public news.
Correct.
Out
Absolutely.
Of that apartment.
Absolutely, yeah. There was a lot going on in there at that time. He and Daniel were very on this cutting edge photography kind of thing, doing these weird 3D images, and there's just always something fun happening, little inventions. And Daniel Jerzyk was kind of a mad scientist kind of person, and so there was always something coming up. And Nancy was the brilliant, beautiful painter woman, and it was just a blast at that time there. So I was more than happy and excited to be involved in anything that they were involved in, because they were so much fun all the time.
So the building's no longer with us,
Right.
the island. Let's before we go into a description of the space that was.
Okay.
I think there was, when you came on board, there was a name change.
Right.
It was,
Paradise Island.
and it became
The island.
the island. And what was the thinking behind that?
I think that Richard was trying to get away from the old venue of what it had been before, and it was kind of a cheesy kind of dance hall kind of thing with fake palm trees and parrots and all this weird stuff, and as Christian had said earlier, everybody was making up other names for it, like Parasite Island and everything that you could imagine. And so he felt to just shorten it, and that was the thing about Richard, was like less is more, and so just shorten it to the island and go from there.
Wasn't it? It was also called Rock Island.
It was called Rock Island later, and I hated that. I liked the island, so it was fun.
Now, we picked a particular spot on this bare parking lot because it was...
This is where the bar was, so this is where I worked. The door was, over there about maybe 10 feet away. There was like a little hallway that you would walk into where you would get like your little ticket booth or your hand stamped or, whatever, your ID checked. And come in and enter the bar right here. And then it was kind of raised up a little bit, so we were up higher than everybody. And it was probably about 12 feet long, and it went all the way down and then curved around kind of close to where the restrooms and stuff were.
Which is, we're describing where that drain is, would be...
Yeah, so where the drain is probably 6 or 7 feet this side of the drain was where the dance floor began.
Okay.
And there was a little pony wall that was like, short little wall that kind of blocked the lounge area from the dance floor area.
You need to step into the sunlight. Their shadows are moving a little bit. You're take a step back. There you go. Feel
Okay.
that sun in your
Okay.
face. I had to step back. But
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
So there was a little short pony wall, which was kind of a good idea as a divider, but then it was also a bad idea because people would be in the mosh pit dancing, and there were quite a few accidents, where people would get pushed into the pony wall. I know that Diana Ray from the Midals actually got pushed and knocked her front teeth out one night on that wall. And then the punk rock community came together and had a benefit to buy her new teeth, and I think the name of the event was Butts with Teeth, and everybody raised money to get Diana 2 new teeth for that night, which was pretty fantastic, I thought. But the bar was it was kind of nasty, you know. I mean, we cleaned it up a bit, but it always stayed pretty nasty. I remember the first time that Richard brought me in, and he said, okay, this is where you're gonna work. And it was a full bar. We had, you know, beer, no wine, and then alcohol. And I came in to do an inventory to see what we had and see what we would need. And as I picked up the bottles, I noticed that like all the bottles had little like roaches in them, you know? And so we kind of strained them out so that they wouldn't be there anymore and put them back in because, you know, you have to have a TABC tag to sell liquor. So in a bar, every bottle has to have this specific tag. So we were unable to just replace them at Specs or whatever. And then after that, I think we started putting golf tees in the spouts at night, you know, when we left, just to keep the bugs out. But then some of the things like slow gin and stuff that we thought were particularly, or that I thought was particularly nasty, I would just leave the bugs in there. Because I figured if someone orders a slow gin fizz, they really need to have a bug with that. So that was kind of my philosophy. That was my new punk rock philosophy there. So anybody that had anything with slow gin or banana liqueur, damn, you know, you got a bug in there. But and it was a blast. We had 2 bartenders. I started out at first, I think, by myself, and it started getting busier and busier. So I asked a very good friend of mine, Andrew Lawson, if he would help me out. And he was great, and he would come in, and he was also an urban animal, so he worked every night on roller skating back and down the bar, and it was wonderful having 2 people because he wasn't really into that music scene, so whenever the band would play and everybody would go off to see the band, I could go off to see the band too because he could handle the bar by himself. So that worked out perfect for me, you know. I didn't have to share the band with Andrew. It was probably one of the happiest, most fun times of my life. Just, you know, seeing something new and different every single weekend. And, you know, and I have friends that I've met there that I still have today. You know, it was like lasting relationships, real relationships. You know, I've worked in a lot of places in my life, and I haven't really carried anyone over, you know, work friends over like I did the people that I met at the island. It's been great.
Take a half step back. There you go. The sun is shifting on us.
Okay.
So I'm moving you there.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. So tell us about, well, let's talk about Phil Hicks.
Okay.
Okay.
One of my favorite people.
Ah.
So, Phil Hicks was a really, really nice guy. He was very quirky. You know, I would say sometimes I would think, you know, in hindsight, looking back, maybe even like a bit autistic or something. You know, he actually, you know, when Richard approached him about doing that, you know, he let us go in there and take over. He was very father-like. He always made sure when we were okay, took care of us, made sure that we had food to eat, you know, while at work and stuff. He actually lived in the bar. There were pool tables, which no one ever used. I don't even know if there were pool balls and pool cues, but there were pool tables in there. And they probably removed the balls and cues because it would have been dangerous. But and Phil would pull out a mattress and sleep on the pool tables during the week. And then, you know, Friday night we'd come in and we'd kind of like, you know, pick up his socks and underwear from around the bar, you know, on the floor, and clean up all the kind of little messes and stuff and hide the mattress back and get ready to go. He always carried a gallon of Kool-Aid with him everywhere he went. He was funny, you know. He could never get the names of the bands right. There was a band called, Midals did a band once, then they switched up a band and they called themselves the Mamas and the Dadas, and he could just not get that. He was calling them the Mommies and the Daddies, and, you know, he was just funny, you know, wanting to take care of everything and very protective of, you know, the girls and stuff, you know, making sure that we were okay, that we were walked out at night. He was a good guy.
We had a question from another interview that the punk rock wasn't his first choice of music to play here. When you worked around him, did you get that impression?
Yeah, he didn't understand it at all, but I think that once he saw the huge crowds that were coming in every weekend, he was fine with it, you know. I mean, because we were raking in a lot of money at the bar. I mean, just lots and lots of drinks and stuff at the bar. And it seems like you had to be of age to get in, but I know that there was a lot of underage people that would sneak in. I have a friend who's maybe 10 years younger than me who said he remembered me, and I said, well, if you're 10 years younger than me, you would have been like 14 at that time. How did you get in? And he said that, everyone used to make their own t-shirts, punk rock t-shirts and stuff, that he would just like make a punk rock t-shirt and walk and go, oh, I'm with the band. So whoever was playing that night, he would hand draw a t-shirt for that band and then just walk right in. So, thought that was a pretty clever way, but there was a lot of definitely underage stuff going on in there.
Now I understand there was I don't know if you were here when there was a doorman named
Indian.
Richard?
I remember Anthony, but
okay. No worries.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
just a personality that.
Yeah,
I
remember.
Underage girls got in.
Oh yeah,
Indian.
I could see that.
I was told.
I remember Anthony was my favorite doorman because whenever you would ask him a question, if he didn't answer, he'd go like, "Hey Anthony, do you know where that extra beer is?" And he'd go, "Well, I don't know." So we would just like ask him questions all the time just to hear him say, "I don't know." So that was like always kind of funny. Probably a little mean, but
So you're standing in what used to be the island. Your back is to the bar.
Right.
The dance floor is behind you. Far
Dance
into the
floor's over
wall.
there.
Huh?
The dance floor's over there.
Dance floor and the stage is back that way.
Right.
Okay. The far walls where we see that curve is behind you, I think.
Yes.
Okay. What are some memorable performances that you saw?
There's so many. I was a huge My Dolls fan, but I also really liked the hardcore, more hardcore stuff. I loved Really Red, AK-47, The Hates. I loved Bevatron. Mary McGee was in a band that I would be so excited to see that band. And then we had a lot of really great touring shows that came in. We had a group called the Black Cats once that was more of a kind of a punk rock rockabilly band, and they all stayed with us. That like one of them slept on my couch and one slept on Richard's couch, and so there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And I seem to remember, and I don't know if it's, and you'll have to ask Richard about this, but I seem to remember that we even had REM come through there on a Friday night, and I remember it was raining, and there were 17 people in the audience that night. And it might have been because it was REM, it was during the week. I don't really remember the particulars. And they got up and they were doing their songs and stuff, and there was a girl that used to come in there all the time. Her name was Vanda, and she was kind of cool, and she had dye her hair like leopard spots and stuff like that. It was she was like real punk rock. She was cool. And so they were playing, and Vanda stood up there, and after one song she said, "You boys sure do play some pretty music," like that. And Michael Stipe got pissed, and that was it. And I mean, I don't know if I've built that up, but I know it was a band that sounded like that. So, and I think I remember Richard saying, well, years later, remember that was them. I'm like, oh.
So were you working the bar the night when the Dead Kennedys played and the cops showed up?
Yeah. That was exciting and fun, and kind of scary all at the same time.
So what was it? So I understand so I've heard different stories about the fight and why the cops showed up. Mm-hmm. Some were political, some were a girl fight. More than just a girl fight, it was an urban animal girls fight. And
those were always deadly.
So tell me about let's talk about the night the Dead Kennedys here and the cops showed up.
When the cops showed up, I kind of went into the back a bit. I remember it though, the story being that it was more political than anything, and that someone had climbed up and written something on a billboard about the Houston police, because remember at that time the Houston police were pretty bad. I mean, they were scary, they'd arrest you and throw you in the bayou and stuff. So, and I think that, knowing the group, no telling what happened. A cop car could have driven by, someone threw something at us, you suck or whatever, and they came in. But when that kind of happened, I removed myself. So I didn't really get in on all the the total action. So.
So, a couple other memorable performances or just nights. It seems you focusing. You seem to have a great recollection of some of the your friendships and some of the customers.
Yeah, the customers were great. You know, I mean, it was fun. I think, you know, I think also probably my favorite bands that played there at that time were the two bands from Austin called the Big Boys and the Dicks, and they were just incredible performers and just put on a really great show. There was always a lot of I'm gay, so there was like always a lot of like strange girls that wanted to do like, you know, experiment, like I was like the experiment chick, you know, and stuff. And that always kind of pissed me off a bit, you know, so I'd like kind of go into the bathroom and get, you know, backed up against the wall and stuff. And, you know, it was fun, but it was just kind of weirdness, you know. There's always like someone new interested in something weird at the time. So, you know, there was a lot of, you know, drugs and not much drinking, you know, but a lot of craziness going on. But it was fun. It was a fun time.
Were you there the night you were shut down? The last night it was open?
No, I was not. No, I was not. I kind of moved away from there after a couple of years and would go back, you know, to see shows and stuff. But it just, I think I got a more real job. So, and it was kind of, you know, it starts taking your toll on, you know, working every night and, you know, being up till, because, you know, we'd close the place at 2, we'd get out of here at 4 or 5, and, you know, Richard and I would ride our bikes here, you know, so, and lived over, you know, like I said, over there by the Glassell School, and we would just like take all the money and stuff it in our shirts, and then get on our bikes and ride home, and then, you know, get home and like pull it all out again. So it was kind of nutsy, and then to be up till like 8 o'clock the next morning, you know, so it kind of got to a part, I guess around, I don't know, 22, 23, I kind of tried to start being a little bit more normal. Didn't really work, but, you know, I tried, so.
Good for you for trying.
Yeah.
I always aspired to be a responsible adult.
Right.
Myself, you know,
Yeah, I've almost gotten it down now at 54, so, you know. Almost.
Yeah, there you go. What else did you want to get into? More of the craziness or more of the physical description of the building?
Craziness if there's any good stories with that.
You got give us a couple more good stories about some of the craziness of what was the island?
You know, the thing that ever seemed like the most crazy to me was the fact that, you know, we were working for this guy that lived there, and then the mosh pit. That was always, you know, on the dance floor. That was really crazy. I had a friend that came in from.
Hang on a second. Don't move. They won't see us.
So I had a friend who was from Delaware, from a pretty conservative Christian Science background, a little bit older than me, and she wanted to go because I was always talking about it. So I took her one night on my night off, and we were sitting on the little pony wall that went around the bar, and, you know, people are just standing there and they're listening to the band, and Elizabeth goes, "I thought you said they did slam dancing and stuff. Why isn't anybody doing slam dancing?" And I said, "Oh, well, here, let me help." And I reached in and like kicked someone in the butt, and they bumped into someone else who bumped into someone else, and before you knew it, there was just like this tornado. She's like, "Wow, I want to do it, you know, want to try to start one." She didn't actually want to get in there, but it was like, it's always funny things like that. You could just like start something really easily there, you know. And then, you know, great nights of, you know, Legionnaire's disease, you know, swinging naked from the rafters, and people with the microphone up their ass, and, you know, all that kind of fun, good stuff, you know. I think I remember I can't remember who the band was, but I know you took a photo of it, of the microphone up the ass.
Yeah, Stickmen with ray guns out of Dallas.
Right, and I think Midals followed them, and that was the mic that Linda had to use, and she was always like mortified that she had to use the mic that was just up the guy's ass. So it was very funny.
Yeah, the Butthole Surfers were there that night as well.
Were they? Yeah. It was fun. It was good times over there all the time. So, you know, and I had I'd say for the most part, I enjoyed just about everybody. You know, there were a lot of posers in there, people that tried to fit in too hard. You know, they were probably more like Go-Go's fans than punk rock fans. They were the new wave people. And we would just, you know, laugh hysterically at them when they'd come in trying too hard with their styled hair and their, you know, fancy glasses and their jackets and stuff. But for the most part, it was a great, wonderful time that, you know, I just embraced to this day. And like I said, still have people from bands and that I've met there and worked with there that are still very much in my life today.
So how would you get in? Do you have a front door lock or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, we had keys to the front door. So Richard did, you know, and I would always come in with him, and we would just come in the front door, like I said, and, you know, straighten up Phil's living room and put his bedroom away and get started every day.
So show us this bathroom where you got abused by the...
So you walk down the bar here, I guess, and when you get to the end of the bar, when you get to the end of the bar, you would go around, and about maybe 2 feet down there was the bathroom doors. And the bathrooms were like, it was probably worse because the bathrooms were so nasty, you know? They were horrific. And I remember one night going in there, and there was a woman who, I don't even know if she's still with us, so I'm not gonna say her name, but going into the bathroom, and she came up and she said, "I heard you're gay." And I went, "Yeah." And she just took me and pushed me against the wall and was like started trying to make out and stuff, and I was just like, you know, and I look back on that and I think that's hysterical, you know, but at the time I was offended that she had, like, you know, and I think I had a girlfriend too at the time, or I know I did, who was in one of the bands, and so that was, you know, it just couldn't happen at that time, so.
Now I remember the two Marys. I don't know if you remember the Mary Hayslip and
Mary McGee?
Yeah.
I love them still. They were great. You know, Mary Hayslip, I think, is, you know, just an icon in Houston. You know, she's so talented and so quirky and so fun and genuine, you know, that she's one of those people that is like, you know, when I see her out or, you know, run into her and stuff, to me, she hasn't changed a bit, not one bit. She's, you know, the same sweetness, the same funniness, the same sarcasm, and still just beautiful as ever. It's crazy, you know.
Now, I understand that both of them had a kind of informal competition. They were real fashion plates.
They were very much real fashion plates, very much. I think, well, this is kind of, I don't know, this is kind of a, well, there's a Black Flag. I think one of them had a crush on one of the Black Flag guys, and I don't know, this could be rumor too, but I think Mary McGee had written a song about someone, and I don't think it was Mary Hayslip, but about someone that was called "I'll Be Your Truck Stop Fuck Stop," which was a song that was about, like, so whenever, you know, you're in town, whatever. So, but I always laugh about that. But you'd have to ask Mary McGee about that.
So yeah, we're going to have Richard and Daniel here this afternoon.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So if you want to pop back in, if you're free,
Yeah.
around 3:30.
Okay. Yeah, if I'm not doing anything, I'll stop by.
We still want to do individual interviews, but if you guys are able to get together, maybe kind of a good little confab right
Okay.
there.
Okay, cool. Good?
Yeah.
Okay.